dabble into this with Catamount Health,
Mm-hmm.
which to me, I think they've dumped it. We have
Yeah.
spent millions, they spent millions of dollars trying to get people on the plan.
Right.
It was to pick up the people who didn't qualify for Medicaid but couldn't afford private insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so now those people have been saying they'll all be thrown, Sheldon has said he wants to put all those people under Medicaid.
Right.
However, Medicaid rules for qualifications, these people make too much money for it.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically without insurance at all, I think, right now, or something's going on.
The Catamount experiment was doomed.
Well,
right from the get-go.
it's doomed, but is this one any different? Are we gonna just spend a lot of money trying to put a program that's gonna,
Let me tell you
different?
some of the things that concern people
okay,
about what happened to Catamount, which could possibly happen to this. One is you have a lot of different employers in the state. And there's three large employers. There's IBM with 3,000 employees. There's GE with in Rutland with just about that many. And then you have Entergy, who has 600 or so employees, as long as the plant continues operation.
Mhm.
Well, they have plans that are large, very large group. They're, take IBM for instance. They have 3,000 employees or so in Vermont. In the U.S., they have 105,000 employees. So this represents less than 3% of their population that they have to insure. And there's no they already have built into their costs, and these are high fixed cost type plans where it won't cost them much more money whether or not the 3,000 people are being insured in up in Williston, but they'll be really they will not take kindly to the idea that not only will they continue insuring their employees in Williston, but they're also going to have to pay a payroll tax on top of that.
So they're gonna have to insure them twice.
Yeah, well, that's what some people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is what will end up happening is that those people who work for IBM will not be insured through Green Mountain Care.
Okay. And
so will GE, so will Entergy. And then you take smaller groups like employers with 250. They're not going to embrace this either. And if they do, it is only because it will be cheaper for them, for their employees to acquire, or for the cost through the payroll tax. If it's cheaper, yeah, they'll go with the Green Mountain Care. But if it's not cheaper, they won't. But if they're made to do so, that will just be an additional cost of doing business in Vermont.
if they're made to do so, basically, they're made to pay for two policies for one
Well,
employee.
or the fact is that they will have to pay, either they'll continue with what they're doing, or they will be, in the way it's, I read the legislation right now,
Mm-hmm.
is that they would be forced to pay additional, pay the.
So you can
freight.
join or you pay a penalty, so.
That's right, yeah.
So you,
Small employers, I hope, will pay less.
but see, this to me shows the whole thing. If the goal is that everyone has insurance and therefore has health care paid by a third party usually,
Mm-hmm.
Why does the state care whether employers provide it this way? Why does the state try to force everyone that they either, I mean, they're already paying it for your employer, and now you're going to be penalized because you haven't bought insurance from the state.
Mm-hmm. We shouldn't really care too much about where people acquire health
But,
coverage as long as
they
they
do.
have health coverage.
But let me just tell you, I interviewed Richard Davis, sat in this chair with you, where you're sitting now, and I said the same scenario. I said, if our goal is to provide health care and health insurance is reasonably priced enough that everybody can afford it, would you be happy with that? No. He wants the state to control it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal.
That's his take. I know there are many people in Windham County who are very concerned that a single payer is not going to afford benefits for much of the services that they consider important to them, whether it's in homeopathic, naturopathic.
Well, those have already been thrown under the bus. Under this legislation.
People are very concerned about that.
I think chiropractic is not listed either. That's been thrown under the bus. And when reading the bill, I didn't see one word about physical therapy.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing evidence-based medicine only. So that allows you to really, again, they're going to pick and choose what they'll pay for.
I see the merit in evidence-based medicine, but only that is good for healthcare policy, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. Before we went on the air, we were talking about the perils of MSG and how its relationship to obesity. This morning I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about yellow dye and red dye as being something they're finding out or suspecting that it's not good for you. I don't need years of peer review studies to decide whether or not I want to be consuming red dye, yellow dye, or MSG.
But what you just said is you would take personal responsibility for some of those things.
Right.
But what this Health Green Mountain Care is, the state will decide and encourage all that stuff.
And again, there are many people in Windham County, because I'm involved with this population, with this group, that we are very concerned that that the legislation that's being proposed and the train that's leaving the station is not going to consider many of the things that many people in Windham County consider very important to their health and to the ownership of their health and well-being.
The state has, over the years, mandated many things that insurance companies must cover. They mandated, you could probably fill in for me, birth control pills, and the cost of our health insurance went up 15%.
Mm-hmm.
They have mandated colonoscopies, which has also driven the price of insurance up, and several other health procedures. And now in this bill, they're giving themselves the power to review if this plan that we will have be our only access, will even cover those expenses. Which means that those things were put in there because they were deemed costly, or they wanted to encourage people to have access to these procedures, and now the state's going to review whether they will continue to be able to pay for them.
They'll leave it up to a board to make those kinds of decisions about benefits. And to me, sometimes I think it's a question or a situation of be careful what you wish for, because it might come true. Because here you have advocates, activists who have been very vocal about promoting single payer, and pretty much at the end of this legislative session, in theory, they're all got to go find new jobs, because this board is going to take the activists out of the equation.
Well, I think it seems like they'd never find something they can't start complaining about or bringing to our attention that we need to address. Let's talk about, you say they're going to have to lose their jobs. This board, this is the place to apply for a good job.
Yeah.
It's $160,000 salary and benefits for the chair, $101,000 salary and benefits for all the members.
I'm polishing up my resume as we speak.
It's straight, I'm sure it's gonna be a very responsible job, but still, that's not peanuts as far as what the average person makes in Vermont.
That's right.
Let's talk while we have a few more minutes about ideas thrown out of how they're gonna pay for it. None of these things are settled, even though the bill's been passed.
Mhm.
I guess they all get settled later by this board. But the big thing I hear going on is that it's going to be on the back of the payroll tax.
That's right.
And if that is the case, then only those who are working and get a job, receive a paycheck, will pay for this. People who don't work, people who come in on a trust fund or have family money and therefore don't have to work, will have access to free health care. Or will not contribute to the system.
I think the way it reads right now, I can't believe that they will give a free pass to those folks who file Schedule Ds and have no other source of income or have.
But that's what this bill that the House,
currently
our
it
House
does.
passed. That's what it does.
Yeah, and that's why we want it to be in the Senate, Lynn, because that's where I think a lot of the rational things, adjustments are made. If they give a free pass to the folks who file Schedule Ds, passive income, what we will see
The mass exodus of
bumper
jobs.
mass exodus of jobs and bumper to bumper traffic heading north for people who want free health insurance.
But we already give people the same pass, the Schedule D filers, the same pass on our property insurance, our property tax. In that they qualify for property tax rebates to help them with their health insurance, with their property tax, I'm getting mixed up here, even though they have money in the bank.
Right.
And could pay their property tax. We are subsidizing, as a state, it's our pattern, property owners who have this passive income.
Who have the means.
And who have means to pay it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the property tax, people who don't qualify are basically almost your young people who are trying, two people working, raising a family, and they have to pay the full boat, as well as those who are working full-time. This influences people's decisions.
Of course it does. There are reasons why people come to settle in Vermont.
You come in to take advantage of it, or you leave because it's too onerous.
That's right.
Or
which is the same case in every other state. There are reasons why people move into a state and reasons why people leave.
Okay.
We have our own set of parameters.
Okay, well, at that point, we'll have to end our conversation, but this has been a good start to hopefully get people talking about what's coming down the pipe.
I hope so.
Yeah, and that's what's needed, is we need to talk about it and understand what the ramifications are.
Right.
Thank you, Hilary.
It's good to be with you, Lynn.
Yeah, and we thank you for watching. You've been watching Neighbor to Neighbor. My name is Lynn Corum, and I've been here with Hilary Cooke, and we'll see you on our next show.